Alright, it's gonna be a session recap from today. It's a New York session, October 22nd, 2025. To start off, I did have a bullish bias because we were chilling around all-time highs, right? It was more probable to achieve all-time highs and us play into the 613s and try to see if sellers come in around here once this was hit. But after seeing this, we were kind of at this all-time high zone, and you can kind of see we started to ghost out, like little by little, forming this kind of downtrend and not really making any higher highs to even achieve that all-time high and potentially hitting these open states sitting at like high 613s. So after seeing that, right, I immediately knew that we already were showing signs of going down. We also had Tesla earnings coming out end of day today. So for whatever reason, if Tesla earnings did decide to go up, that impaired with market makers trying to push price down to prep for that was also kind of a idea I had going into today. Um, so to start, we had opened around here. You can see we had some legs up after achieving these two open states that we had sitting right here below our dead zone and below our stacked odds that we had here. Once we did have that leg up going into that 10 a.m. macro, we had played on our overnight PML. Ideally, if we were going to rip up to all-time highs and achieve these open states, we did need to close above our PML and hold that, so then we can target these open states and even deeper IVs coming from the IV chart. Since not, and we showed rejection, this would have been your initial short going into that first hourly open. And you can see from this point on, this would have been a top tick of high a day pretty much. And for the whole session, we just completely dumped and trended down. If you did not catch this and you were looking for longs and a hold above and you were too late to get to this entry, you could have entered here when we had entered our dead zone slash IV peak. This gave a good signal for entries as well. Here also gave a pretty decent entry. This is where I had caught my entry right here. You can see this is the trade that I had took on that second retracement that we had gotten. I had entered around 25 180-ish 181, and I pretty much just targeted low of day, these previous lows down here, um, which impaired with these with the overnight floor as well. So that was my trade that I had took today. Obviously I could have held my trade as well. You can see this was my entry up here, and we just trended down without giving any initial retracement back up to the entry. And we just completely trended down the whole session. You had many opportunities to catch this move, right? The reason why I took my trade was mainly because you could probably see like, okay, you took your entry here, but there wasn't really no bounce on the IVs or anything. I pretty much initially took mine based off of a 3-minute Nexus touch that you can see here. So if we did want to maintain that bear structure, we did need to reject off of our 3-minute Nexus, which is our general bias line for trend. And you can see we get the first rejection, second rejection. Once I saw the first one, I kind of took my initial entry there. I kind of got a bad fill, so I had re-entered. That and paired with us retracing back up to these stacked odds, this was kind of the last place to even try shorts again, because if we were going to inverse this leg up, we would have played back into our stacked odds, played back into our dead zone, and from that point forward, we most likely would have just made a higher high. So this was kind of like the last place to try it for us to keep that bear structure and us continue down. That also with the 1510 purple vector was also holding above here. So that was my confluences to take that trade. But yeah, you guys had many opportunities to take a trade, right? Even confluenced with ES, right? We've had rejection from our IV peak zone giving you entry here. Qs, we had rejection from our median range. That would have gave you entry here. Overnight floor rejection would have gave you entry. Just many opportunities in general. If you guys didn't catch shorts, um, feel free to DM me, because today was pretty much easy in order to just follow this trend and catch any part of this down move. And then going into that 1 p.m. macro, we can see that we did start to recover a little bit in terms of catching this move. This is kind of how I like to play it. So you can see that we kind of pushed below our max fear and entered that kind of exposure area. But even though we did push below our max fear, you can see that Q's was obviously leading today, and ES did not play into exposure yet. So what I like to do is use the levels from ES to potentially figure out when we're gonna start to recover on Q's, since this is the pair that I'm trading and not ES. And you can see right here going into 1 p.m., not 1 p.m., I'm sorry, 2 p.m. that we started to create a leg up, playing back above our wall short. ES, same thing, right? Rejected off this IV, playing back above our IV overflow wall short. In terms of how I would catch it, I obviously wouldn't have tried to bottom tick this. In terms of bottom ticking it, you can see in Aries we didn't really get even an initial bounce off of anywhere. We did hold above these open states, but that's not really enough confluence for me to take it. I'd rather just wait for an initial hold above a level. So for example here, when ES had came up and tested our overnight floor, at this point, since it's our overnight floor, I'm looking for a rejection to get that continuation back down to play back into this wall short or even max fear. Since we did get a small rejection here, you can see that buyers were still in control, pushing price above our overnight floor. And this was going into 1400, you could see down here. And paired with 1400 here, you can see that pushed us back above max fear on Q. So this overnight floor confluence with our max fear was enough to take a long off of, and you can see this was your initial entry right here on Qs, and you would have targeted uh, up here or wherever, right? This was a pretty clear high that we had sitting at our overnight floor, so this would have been a good target to hit. And yeah, that's how today's session pretty much went. We did have Tesla earnings come out end of day. I did try to play an initial long just because of uh, us already starting to see recovery and this down move just happening pretty much almost the whole day. I had figured that it would come out somewhat kind of bullish, and this was just a prep for that up move to get from Qs. But I had took profit quick and noticed that it just wasn't going to happen after I saw Tesla show rejection. So I just got out of that position for some quick profit. And yeah.